Are you currently using AI in your contact center? Who are you? Things are not changing. There we go. That's better. There we go. Okay. Almost 40% of the yarn, 60% of the yarn. My name is Chuck Cording, and I'm an enterprise account representative for EDCI. And I'm going to be introducing Matthew David this afternoon. Matthew is a digital leader who has successfully delivered cloud, mobile, and I2 solutions. He has written over 100 articles and 13 books that dig deep into explaining HTML5, mobile web design, mobile development, IoT, DevOps, AI, and blockchain. With that, I will introduce David.
All right, everybody, I want you all to stand up. Come on, let's everybody stand up here. Wow, it's awesome. All right, I want you to stretch your hands way up into the air and wave your hands like you just don't care. Yeah! All right, I'm just going to break everybody up a little bit because I have that enviable task of having the mid-afternoon presentation. All right, so good news, you've almost made it. The free drinks are about an hour away. So I'm here, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about the work that we're doing at QBE. The focus that we have at QBE is that QBE is actually the 4th largest insurance company worldwide. I know, none of you have heard of QBE, right? Yeah, I hadn't heard of it until I applied there about six months ago. But QBE is actually based out of Sydney, Australia. And globally, we have insurance that goes to a point of about a book of business of about $17 billion. The business in North America is about $1 billion of that, and we're looking to raise that significantly. What we find that's very interesting with our business, however, is that it's a very high-touch business. We don't work in insurance such as auto insurance or health insurance. It's very specialized insurance. So there's a lot of touch that we have with our customers, and we pride ourselves on the way that we treat our customers. But what I've found is that even with that high-touch quality that we bring to our customer experience, the use of artificial intelligence can really help improve the customer experience we have on a day-to-day basis. So there are a few things I want to cover today in this session. The first really is the value and the importance of the customer experience. I come from a very significant customer experience background, so this is really close and warm to my heart. I want to talk a little bit more about how AI is of value to the call center, how it impacts the customer, but also how it impacts your teams. And I was really delighted to see the demonstration that Julie gave earlier on, because it really highlighted some of the things that we're experimenting with at the moment as well. I'm going to take you through a zero to hero use case. And I'm actually going to give you the steps that we actually are taking right now to introduce AI into our call center to help augment the customer experience. And then finally, I want to talk about how to manage the future, because the future is coming incredibly fast and it's bringing with it more and more opportunities all the time. So customer experience is being driven by one company these days. I just recently joined QBE a month ago, and previous to that, I led innovation at Kimberly-Clark. Kimberly-Clark is a product-based company. We have Huggies and everything. So we were impacted very dramatically by Amazon.com. For us, it was a very positive impact. But Amazon is very, very critical about driving excellence, and there's a number of ways in which they drive excellence for their customer. So the Amazon Prime model, where I think there's like over 110 million subscribers to Prime today, all of them getting 2-day delivery. Lowest price guarantee, customer reviews, all of these things are really creating a perfect storm technology-wise for building a solution that drives high customer experience. In contrast, you got Walmart, who 5 years ago wasn't reacting very quickly to the response of Amazon. That has since changed, and I'm not sure if you've been to Walmart or Target recently, but certainly in the last year, the customer experience has dramatically changed. So what we're seeing is that there is two things that are happening. One is that price no longer matters. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is that it's very easy for us all to go out and find the lowest price for any particular service at any point in time or particular product. So price doesn't matter anymore because you assume you're already getting the lowest price. What matters is service, and we're looking to drive and delight the customer. So why are we looking to use AI within the call center? The reason why we're looking to use AI in the call center is that it's just really another way in which we can interface with the customer. Amazon has really famously used Alexa. Apple uses Hey Siri, though I don't think it's really taken off quite as much, but Alexa is really rocketing away with popularity. It's just another way in which we can engage with the customer. Now, quick question to everyone in the room. Has anybody actually spoken to their Amazon Echo? Okay, we only have a few. So I've done it once, and I felt really awkward. I'm like, Alexa, play music? But here's the reality, is that it's a cultural thing that we're having to get adjusted to. If you look to your kids, they have no problem at all talking to their devices. I've got 4 kids, and how many have teenagers or like preteens? They all have smartphones. They all drive you nuts. Yes. Anybody like any kids? Mine are grown-ups, and now they're just expensive. So what we're seeing is that there's a rapid evolution in how we engage with our customers. Voice is definitely going to be something that we look at and we embrace. But what we have to understand is that voice may be the end goal. It's the whole Star Trek tricorder thing, which is, you have to do famous Mr. Scotty impersonation, like computer. I don't know how to do this. And I'm coming after the Irish guys. But we're certainly going to have that, where that is going to be the end goal, where we will be able to talk effortlessly to our computers. The reason why we don't today is that we don't have that personal relationship coming back. However, chat is actually getting to that point where you can actually talk and chat with a bot, and it feels like you're actually talking to a human. And this whole space is evolving rapidly. So the point here is that table stakes are constantly evolving. 5 years ago, when I would be doing an innovation program, we would have done something on a mobile application. And it's like, everybody's getting these mobile devices, let's build a mobile app and everything. Ooh. Today, move forward, we have artificial intelligence, we have voice, we have the need to be able to build in new areas of engagement. And so expect that engagement to keep evolving. The second thing that, when it comes to AI in the call center, is that the people in your call center are not going to go away. And I'm going to step through what we're doing with my team at the moment. When you start introducing AI into an organization, the knee-jerk reaction is fear. There's been an awful lot of great press about the robots coming to take over. Here's the reality though, is that today, while robots are really good at the game of Go, they can totally beat you at chess. The challenge is they're not very good at multitasking. A great example of this is just recently with Tesla. Who like desires a Tesla car? Is it just me? I would love one. My wife teased me one year. She said, "I got you a Tesla for Christmas." I'm like, "Get out!" And it was a mug. So yeah, got an official Tesla mug. So Elon Musk put together a very advanced, completely automated build system for cars. And I grew up actually in the automotive industry through my dad. He actually was the director for quality control for Nissan. And so it was the only thing that he felt really comfortable talking about. So I, at an early age, got to learn a lot about this process. And it's actually a very complicated process. And what Elon Musk discovered this year is that there are parts of that process that can only be effectively done by humans. Because we're really good at multitasking. We're really good at changing our pattern behavior very quickly. So AI today is really good at single-threaded patterns, but isn't very good at being able to switch patterns. It's going to change, but it's not going to happen overnight. So bottom line is AI is there to augment and help your call center. It's not meant to replace your call center, and don't treat it as that. So let's kind of go through some of the processes that I use when it comes to actually delivering out a solution. So I've been really lucky in my career that I spent my entire career on innovation. I've got to work with a whole bunch of startups. I've got to work within large global corporations that want to have a startup mentality and driving that innovation culture throughout the company. The reality is there's no secrets to this, and it doesn't. It applies equally to the call center and the work that you guys are doing as it does to anywhere else within your business. Always start small. Be very frugal, and encourage your teams to think outside the box. So one of the concepts that was shared with me recently is this concept called drawing the owl. I'm like, what do you mean drawing an owl? And the guy talking to me said, look, when you get everybody in a room that's working on a project, and kind of keep that project team between 5 and 8, because once you start getting past 8, there's too many people on the project and too many conflicting ideas, and you get 1 or 2 dominant personalities taking over. So have 5 or 8 people in a room and give them all a whiteboard marker, and give them 2 minutes to draw an owl on the whiteboard. What you'll find is that they'll all start drawing an owl on the whiteboard. Now, they might pull out their iPhones and kind of get a reference point, but you've given them a time restriction that they have to deliver something on. When they get done, you'll get to see who are the good artists, who are the bad artists, but they'll all, look, I can't even draw stick people. So I am firmly in the bad artist camp. But they will all have drawn the owl. What is the metaphor here? The metaphor is that you're encouraging them to be putting a time frame around their work, that they have to have a specific deliverable. And the first version, it doesn't matter what it looks like. But you have to have something that the rest of the people that you're working with can edit. And I'm going to show you how we're using this with chatbots at the moment. So let's actually get it in. Oops, what did I do? Can I borrow that up?
Oh.
You see, I don't have many slides. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what we did with QBE. So we wanted to experiment with chatbots. And I'll tell you right now, we actually have 4 chatbot programs being initialized. 8 weeks ago, we didn't have any. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to see how could we improve the customer experience. And I think it was Paul earlier on was talking about having the ability of having a chatbot help augment the customer experience. And that's what we did. So we wanted to be able to go in and help augment the customer experience. So we took just one line of business in North America. Happened to be in Atlanta, so I had to fly to Atlanta. You know, it's just such a hardship. And we got to Atlanta, and we took one of the teams, and we took 8 people in the team, and we said, look, we want to help improve the way you engage with your customers. And the way that we thought that would be really good to help improve is that right now, the way that QBE solves all problems with customers is they talk to them on the phone. Now, you know, as being managers of call centers, how costly that experience is. Just incredibly costly. So we said, hey, you know what? We want to introduce chatbots into this environment. But instead of just going straight in and adding in chatbots and having them take over the work that the team's used to doing, and then inherently take over the rest of the universe, we actually want the actual team to feel comfortable with the whole concept of using text messaging to communicate with their customers. So what we ended up doing is, for the first round, is we turned off AI completely. And we just had AI as something that was a layer that we could turn on later. And the interface was about allowing the customer to use text messaging as a way to communicate with QBE. And then the team themselves could actually then see the text messages coming in through a web interface, and then could respond to those. What we found is that immediately they could start responding to multiple queries much more quickly than they were before. And they got excited, and we ran that for 2 weeks, and they could see the potential of where this could go. But then a fear came up. It's like, our customers love using text messaging. They love not actually talking to us, because we can actually get through the whole process really quickly, and we don't have to do it on office hours, because they can, we can send a text message to them, and if it's 4 hours later that they respond, that's okay. We still have the flow of the message. We know what's happening with the message. And so we started running into a problem that we kind of suspected would happen, that we would have to be able to support the team. So we said, well, there is a way in which we can support you, and we can do some limited support using AI. And so we started turning on elements of AI initially to be able to help send information out to people that were calling in for claims. So if you're calling in for a claim and you want to get a status, there's no reason why a human should have to respond to that. But the machine can send out a status report directly to that customer. So we started doing that. But then we wanted to make sure that the team could actually see that the AI was being there to help augment and support them as a team, not replace their work. And so they could actually see the conversations going back and forth between the different customers. And if they wanted to, they could step in at any time and take over from the AI. And that happened occasionally. But what we found is that the team started getting more satisfied with their work, because they were able to help the customers that really had complex issues. And fundamentally, that's all the work we want to do. I think somebody earlier on said, I don't want to be doing reset, how to reset your password 24 hours a day. That's the work we were taking away. It was trying to get rid of that reset your password activity. And so where are we today? So we are at moving rapidly into the third phase of the work, where the first phase was just having chat, the second was adding on some very simple AI. The third phase now is that we're integrating AI beyond just the chat window. So if a customer does want to call in, we can actually then pull up a window for the customer service rep, and they can actually see highlighted information that's pulled out of Guidewire that shows information about the policy and where they are in the claim at that time. And so again, it's just a quick cheat sheet on what the customer needs are, but it's all about taking small incremental steps. And what we are doing with each of these steps is we're analyzing what the impact is. If something is working, we keep doing it. If it's not working, we change it. One of the concepts that you will hear all the time is the concept of fast failure. And I often think that it's misinterpreted. A lot of times people think of fast failure as you build a solution, and if the solution fails, well, okay, we move on to the next thing. But our concepts of solutions are sometimes weeks and months of work. The reality is fast failure is releasing something and within hours or days checking to see whether it's working and being able to respond very quickly to that. So that's where we're at with the work that we're doing with QBE on the claims side. I wasn't here this morning because I just left my team, because what we found is that the whole bot concept is now getting its own set of legs. And this is the thing that's really exciting when you start launching something that has incremental value to the company, particularly if it's a low cost but high value return. And so we've been working on this claim solution for the last couple of months. And everybody's going, whoa, these bots are really cool. And so this morning I actually just left 2 teams doing design sprints, focusing on how we can actually introduce bots to our intranet to help our internal HR team. We're a little bit late this year, but we're in the middle of benefits renewal cycle, and we would love to have had a bot up and running before that, but hey, we're doing something now. And then we're also looking at ways in which we can add bots onto our main QBE.com webpage. Again, the goal is how can we drive and guide the person calling in and give them a response that allows them to meet and fulfill their needs. Again, the way that we're taking this approach is that it is a measured and metered approach, where we're being very conscientious that we don't want the employees to think that we're taking their jobs away. We're just giving them another tool. And I was around when PCs were introduced to the company, and everybody thought that PCs were going to get rid of all of our jobs. You know, it didn't. All it did happen is that we evolved. And we saw the PCs and then our phones and now AI as tools to help augment and improve the efficiency of how we deliver solutions. So one of the challenges that we are at today with AI is we're kind of in the uncanny valley land of AI. Is that it almost sounds human when you're talking to it, not quite. You just know that it's just a little bit off. That's certainly going to change over the next few years. There was a really great demo that was given earlier in the year by Google, where they actually had a AI system that was voice-powered, actually calling up a hairdresser. We've got a few people nodding their heads that saw that demo. Very spooky, because what happened is the AI assistant called up a hairdresser to arrange a hair appointment. And what it was using behind the scenes was information from the calendar of the owner and seeing when their calendar was free. But what was spooky is they added in ums and ahs as if it was really a human talking. I've got some friends, some engineers, who sound less human than this AI. So we're definitely getting there, but we're still in this uncanny valley where it's still sounding a little bit robotic, but it's changing quickly. The second part is that technology is changing really fast. So, frame of reference, 10 years ago, none of us had smartphones. Well, maybe, Bob, you probably had the first gen iPhone. Yes, you did. It's good blushing now. All right, so did I. I bought the $600 iPhone 1, which is now useless. But technology is changing really fast. So, frame of reference, the new iPad was launched this week. Really, really cool. It's as fast as an Xbox, which I'm super excited about. One of the points of reference for the new iPad coming out, the iPad was launched in 2010. 8 years later, it's 1,000 times more powerful. 1,000 times more powerful. And we're seeing the same kind of evolution happening with all other technologies, AI being one of them. So it's not a linear curve, it's a hockey stick curve that we're seeing for how things are evolving. But being part of that is continue to test out all the different options. There are so many different options for AI, and one of the things, I talk to lots and lots of different companies, and every company I talk to in Wisconsin always say, oh, we're just so far behind everybody else. The reality is if you are actually having this conversation, you're already ahead of everybody else. Because everybody, with the exception of the Googles and the Facebooks and the Microsofts, are going, what do I do with this? Just start experimenting and you will put yourself ahead of the curve. And the good news is that the barrier to entry for experimenting with AI is very, very low. So with that said, it's really kind of my whole presentation. But I'm really interested because I'm actually putting out solutions inside of our company. I'm interested in kind of what are some of the problems that you guys are experiencing today that you'd like to see resolved?
Thank you, Matthew. That's great. But I was going to see if you could go back 2 slides. You had a case study slide up, and I'd love to hear you mention something about the what you learned there on the side, particularly the some customers felt the love, some didn't, and a lot of time is required to teach the bots.
Yeah, so the first one is a really good one. What we found is that some people just love talking to bots, even if they are actually talking to a human, but they think it's a bot. Some people love doing that. It's kind of like when you're calling up and you want to find out the balance of your checking account, and you just want to punch through the different options on your phone. Some people love that. What we also found is that some people absolutely hated it. And they hated it for a very simple and lazy reason, is that if I call up and speak to you, you'll do all the work for me.
Yeah.
And I think what we have to start figuring out is that I think it's going to take some time for people to get comfortable using different forms of communication. And maybe we need to figure out, do we reward customers that use a bot? Like for instance, when FedEx, I think it's FedEx, they actually switched that if you use their website to find out the delivery of your package, it was free to find out that information. But if you called into their call center, they charged you, I think, like $4 or something. I remember if I'm getting that right. I think that's one of the things that we have to start figuring out is, how can we incent our customers to maybe, go a different path, and maybe we don't do that with all customers, and certainly with the business that we have, and we're a QBE, so we're special, and by the way, I think every company's special. So we think we're special, so there's certainly a cultural thing that we have to change as well.
So was it a desktop bot on a PC, or was it a mobile bot? And did you brand it as a like, hi, I'm the QBA digital virtual assistant. Can I help you? Kind of.
We actually did
avatar.
So we did it as text messaging.
Okay.
And that was how we started, because we wanted people to be forced to actually use a bot-like experience, which is text messaging.
Yeah.
And we're just you're there using your thumbs. And we didn't introduce ourselves as being a bot. We actually introduced ourselves as a representative from QBE, and because this was new to us, we were being very transparent and saying, this is a new way for us to communicate with you as our customer. We see you have claim X, Y, and Z. Do you want to communicate via text to help resolve your claim? And what we found is by having that somewhat leading question, about 50% said, no, just call me. So we're learning. But we also had a lot of people going, yeah. And we got pretty excited. Like the first day, we actually got somebody doing an emoji back to us, and we thought that was success. But we're certainly learning there. On the technology side, we're actually using. There's a group. It's a spin-off from IBM called Hi-Mali, and they're helping us get the experience spun up. But what we're also doing is we don't think that any one solution is going to be the solution that's going to solve all problems. So we're actually experimenting with 3 different chatbots at the moment. 2 are paid and 1 is open source. And so we have Hi Marley, which we're using for our claims team right now. We're looking at implementing Live Person for our QBE website, but then our internal intranet, we're actually using, because our internal intranet is based on Microsoft Office 365.
Okay.
Microsoft actually has a whole set of chatbot technologies. And we're like, sure, give it a shot. And so I actually talked to one of my engineers and I said, you doing anything this afternoon? And I said, I have a challenge for you, which is really awful. If I come to you and say I have a challenge, that means that you need to kind of forget what you're doing for the next 2 days. But he actually spun up a bot using the technologies out there. And that's actually the great thing. I'm a huge advocate for open source, because the reality is that somebody else has already built whatever you want to do already and has made it as an open source project. There's a reason why Microsoft just bought GitHub. There's something like 30 million open source projects that you can actually use at any one time. So that was what we're doing there for the technology.
Great, thanks.
Great question. So what other problems are you dealing with right now that you'd like to maybe get some help on?
I just have a question about authentication.
Authentication, that's a great question. So I'm a huge advocate for authentication, and there's 2 challenges when it comes to authentication. One is, are you who you say you are? And the second is, now do you have permission to have access to specific data? So authentication and authorization. And if we look over the years, there's been kind of an evolution of what's happened with authentication and authorization. So 20 years ago, it was database. There was a table that had user ID and passwords. If you were really lucky, the passwords were encrypted, often not. And then we've evolved, and we had SAM authentication and OAuth authentication is where we're at today. We're, I think, on the cusp of a new set of authentication that we have to go through. And bear in mind, the examples that we've done here have been very, very low tech and haven't been like sharing information that was not known. So what I mean by not known, we knew the person's phone number, so we knew we were talking to who it was. But there is, I think, a next evolution of authentication that's coming along. Microsoft's actually investing heavily into what they call tokenization, so that you can actually guarantee that I am talking to you and you are who you say you are, instead of being somebody from North Korea. So that's something you have to build into every solution you're doing, is authentication. It's painful and it's difficult, but it's absolutely necessary. Great question.
So you didn't have to do it with your bot? You didn't have to build it?
So a couple of things. The experiment that we're doing with our claims team right now is a very controlled experiment. So we knew who we were talking to, so that was okay. Second is on the internet side, we're actually going through, and our first evolution is to actually just really have the bot be a glorified search engine itself. And then we'll add on stuff later. On the intranet side, because we're using Microsoft's own chatbot technology, we're actually able to integrate Microsoft's own authentication. So a great example of where Microsoft is using a lot of AI is if you use Office 365 and you have used Dell to see what else your team is working on, that's actually using advanced authentication and sending you the information. So you can see all the files your team is working on, plus your peers and your boss, but only the work that you actually have access to be able to read and access. But you don't, it just does it for you. And so that's where you're seeing a lot of AI. So we integrated that into our experiment because it was kind of just a plugin that we could add. Great questions. Any other final questions? All right, cool. Thank you very much.